Well, sir, thank you very much for sitting with us. I'm so excited. This is an epic film, but I guess the number one word that comes to mind is scope, because it really is about how much we can feel, emote about the world and everything that's happening with it, but in a circumference of these characters, and how that works. So what was your main thought about this? Once you had the script and you're moving forward, how did you look to create the scope and not expand too much at the same time? Create so much in this small space almost.
Well, we weren't in that small a space, to
No,
be honest with you. We
no.
were in
I'm just saying
miles
the
of miles.
purview of the
Right.
purview of the characters.
Yeah, I get it. I think that it's a rule. If I don't really have any particular rules, but one good rule to observe when you're making a movie like this is to not sacrifice the epic to the intimate, and don't sacrifice the intimate to the epic. So it's a constant balance between the two. And given the fact that the shot, the movie is one continuous shot, and it's quite an immersive film. It really, the challenge was to develop a style in which the camera was free to move both close and wide, to be able to see the epic and the intimate, at different moments in the story, and to understand things like distance and time and physical difficulty of the journey that the men are taking. So it was a constant evolving shot, really.
Now, tell us about the process of finding your Blake and Schofield. Who were you looking for? Because these are the faces that we travel with throughout the whole thing. There's some great people added to it, but these two are the ones who I guess they are our characters as we travel through the story. So
yeah, I wanted two relatively new faces, really. I wanted them both to be very young. I wanted an audience to feel like there were two men amongst 2 million, and that they somehow, at the beginning of the story, there's nothing special about them. It's only during the course of the story that they kind of become accidental heroes. One is a quieter, more introverted type, has been there longer, more experienced, that's Schofield. The other is much younger, been there for less time, seen much less, and is much more extrovert, chatty, vulnerable, young, and that's Blake. And that kind of unlikely friendship that grows up in war, where people from different social classes and backgrounds are thrown together, that was the kind of friendship I wanted to create.
now, with this, like in that same aspect, that same thought, was there anything you did to prepare Dean, Charles, and George as you move forward? In the way of, well, this is the way we're shooting, perhaps even shot this way, or perhaps even, the way we want your characters to, I guess, progress. Like, is there anything you did to work with them before this film started?
Well, we rehearsed for about 6 months off and on with the full crew, and because it's one shot, we had to measure out every single stage of the journey. So we couldn't dig a trench until we'd walked how long the trenches should be. We couldn't. And we had to do the same for farmhouses and fields and orchards, woods, canals, towns at night. We couldn't build anything until we measured the exact length of the journey. So we dug over a mile of trenches, and that whole process had them in it from the very beginning. So by the time we came to shoot it, they'd been living it for about 6 months, which wasn't inappropriate, because in a way I was wanting them to live the experience as much as to act it.
Now, after doing this kind of the one-shot experience, do you have a personal analogy to how you shoot this, or this process? Like, is it a dance for you? Is it like writing a book where you have your chapters, but it has to coalesce together? Like, what's the analogy for you think?
Well, both those things occurred to me while I was making it. I definitely like a dance at times. The choreography between the camera, the characters, and the landscape, all of which are changing all the time. But it also has chapters, a little bit like a book. It's not just your average, if there is such a thing, World War I movie. It's not just trenches and mud. It starts there, but it moves out of that into a whole different series of landscapes. And through the keyhole of these two men, you begin to understand the scale of the catastrophe, really the scale of the war. But also, at the same time, spring is pushing back through, and it's the April of 1917, the leaves are coming back to the trees, there's blossom in the orchard. So that sense that nature is going to laugh at all of them eventually and is going to win out, that's also there. So there were lots of different feelings that happened during the course of the film.